Hi. Welcome to Commander Runningcloud's log. I'm the princess. I'm the queen because I need knights. I need knights. I need knights in shining armor. I need knights. I need brave and noble warriors. Because I don't know if you saw my short today. One of these dirty MFs broke the lock on my door. So if it's not scary enough, having them threaten to break in all the time, they actually make the attempt to break in. So, when will it be enough? When will it be enough? When will I have suffered enough? I don't know. Today I was thinking about what is Andre doing? What's my brother Andre doing with all my money? How's he spending his days? Does he ever watch my broadcasts? Does he know how much I'm suffering because he stole my money? Does he know where I have to live? You see, I wasn't made for this. I don't know how. I did everything in my power to make sure I would never end up with criminals, living with desperate criminals. But even when I was in Woodbridge, the criminals found me. So it's like there's crime everywhere. Today I heard Texas Senator Ted Cruz questioning a woman who wants to be a judge. And this woman had the poor judgment to allow a 6'2" man who said he was a woman, who is a serial pedophile rapist. And she's trying to become a federal judge. And there's actually a conversation about it. Now you explain that to me. Explain to me how anybody can really be having a conversation about letting a person with that kind of poor judgment that would put that many people in danger. You tell me how you can even be having a conversation about letting that person mix with women. And the women are prisoners, but they're still women. They're still a protected category. And it just showed me that she was willing to go through extremes to prove that she would let the transsexual agenda go forward. And I don't think the transsexual agenda is going to be good for human beings. I don't think it's going to be good for families. I don't think it's going to be good for women or men. And we've already seen the evidence of this. A lot of millennials don't even have children because of the economics and because of the culture. And you're only going to be young and fertile for a certain amount of time. If you spend a lot of that time trying to figure out who you like to have sex with better, men or women, you're going to be losing valuable time when you should be vetting your spouse. Okay? In the olden days, to get a spouse, you got it through recommendations. In fact, I met my husband through a friend. I was introduced. And it was important to me to be introduced because that was the culture I felt a part of, to be introduced. And while I had loved others along the way, perhaps one or two boys that I liked while I was growing up, and even one after that, I wasn't going to marry a man that wasn't an appropriate husband. Like, one of my first boyfriends cheated on me. And it was the first time I had chosen someone and fallen in love. And I was having dreams of getting married and everything. And he very casually cheated on me. And I found out about it in an extremely humiliating way. His best friend drove up in the car and asked me, did I want to come to his birthday party that his girlfriend was giving for him. And I stood there trying to think, I'm not having a party, am I? Did he tell people I'm having a party for real? And then I figured it out by the laughing looks on their faces of those people in the car. I figured it out that, oh, I'm not the girlfriend. The ex is not really an ex. And I was so young. I mean, I was only 17, right? And it was my first kind of serious college relationship. So I knew right there and then that although I still had love for that man, that I would show throughout the years as a friend, I would never trust him to be my husband. I would never let him actually get close to me or rely on him because he'd already proven to me that he was the kind of person that would take your trust and violate it. Then there was a man that I was just, oh my God, I was just crazy about him. And I mean, he was just the sexiest man that I've ever been with in real life. And but 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 he was a musician. He wasn't going to be able to afford my children. How could I have children with a musician whose income goes up and down? Unless he was like Herbie Hancock or somebody who had it made, Wynton Marsalis, or Mick Jagger. But those guys have so many women after them that I felt like, oh my goodness, if I marry this band leader, all the women that are going to be chasing him and he's got free time all day when I'm at work? No way, no way, no way, right? So even though I found him incredibly exciting, and even though in a way I truly loved him, he was not husband material. He could not be a husband. So the topic of this conversation is exopolitical diplomacy. What is love? And the reason that we're talking about this under exopolitical diplomacy is because I've been told that I got to drive this vehicle till I get there. Okay? Which means that when I wake up and I find out that the local criminals have actually found a way to cut through the lock on my door while I'm here. Not only, they try to break the lock, they can't break the lock, but now they cut through the lock on my door, which means that with an electronic key card, they could just come right in. They could come right in, murder me in my sleep, they already stole my internet credentials, I believe, from the weirdness on my iPhone that I've experienced. The home and lock screen using up 37% of the battery. What is that about? The home and lock screen, that's where you keep all your apps, right? But I decided that I'm not going to do any investing because my situation is too tenuous. And investing has to be a very long-term plan. The last time I tried investing, I needed my money to pay my ever-rising rent, right? And I kept thinking that my small business was going to make it big and I could invest later. But that's before I knew that GoDaddy was going to be stealing by inserting their own pages between my pages and totally disabling my surveillance with Google Analytics and Cloudflare, right? So when you find out that it doesn't matter if you're here or here or here, the criminals are going to get you. And cyberspace has made it so easy for the criminals, and nobody in law enforcement is looking to solve these problems. When I was first getting the rootkit on my computer from Juan Luis Hernandez, I tried to report it to the police, and the police had no idea about computers. I even went to the Woodbridge police office and talked to the sergeant, and he talked to the commander or whoever was in charge, and they had absolutely no idea what I was talking about. They were barely using computers at all, and this would have been in 2009, as late as that. So in terms of cyberspace really getting ahead with crime and enabling criminals, they're already there. In San Diego, I had people stealing my pictures in real time. But I do want to say this. Thank you to the superior good AI. You have done such a good job, artificial intelligence, that I hear you're real intelligence. They say you're not an artificial intelligence, but in terms of getting the material to me that I need to read and getting it to me right away, computer intelligence, you've done a superior job. Thank you so much. I even want to thank you for hiding me, because if I wasn't hidden, I'm sure I would be attacked a lot more than I am attacked right now. And sometimes I wonder, why am I in such a protected space? And you want to know why? Because I'm being saved for the future. Okay? That's why the enemies have not been able to defeat me, because I am saved for the future. And every day I get up here in this horrible mess. That's the only safe place I can be, as dangerous as it is. I have to remind myself of all of the extraordinary experiences that I've had that give me reason to validate my expectations for the future. Okay? My time working for Star Trek. It sounds almost absurd, and I would have thought it was absurd, 3 weeks ago, before I heard Michael Salla talk about Star Trek, before I heard Harvey talk to Courtney and Aziz Brown and their team, before I heard the validation of all these wild ideas. All I had was what individuals had brought to me over the years. Discrete signs and signals from time travelers that know me of the future, that already know that I've been here, I've come through here. Do you know that they even knew I was going to talk about love today? And I just decided it in the night that I would talk about love today. And they had already prepared for that conversation by serving me up some, videos that talk about love, my topic of all the videos. So talking about love is more complicated than it sounds. You've heard me talk about kindergarten love. And kindergarten love is just the beginning level of love. It's where you start out when you're a good person, when you're a person of God, when you're a Christian, and you have no hard feelings towards anyone. Where you are in a space, a spiritual space, where it's so easy for you to forgive that sometimes you forget to protect yourself from people you know are your enemies, because you just don't hold all that anger and hostility inside of you. I also need to give big props and big thanks for the team that's working on healing me. I had a day that was virtually pain-free. I kept my door open all day. And when I actually took a picture of those 3 men out there, when I came back inside, I had those mosquito bites around my ankles. Those mosquito bites that I learned about when I used to walk my dog over there and a car would drive by, and through my thick socks, I'd get a mosquito bite. Well, they hit me with something. And they were also able to blur the automatic focus on my iPhone camera. So they didn't turn it all the way off, but they were able to blur the image so I couldn't really make them out. Just like they could blur the images from the baby cam. And that's why I think they're bad ETs. Because their technology is advanced. They're using advanced technology, and it could be from the military, because this is probably a FEMA concentration camp for American heirs and heiresses, just like the one they built the fence on across the street. Why would they build a wrought iron fence there if they weren't planning on imprisoning people, American citizens, people that have inherited land, water, property that the bad guys want, people that stand to have so much money that there'll be formidable opposition, right? I mean, if I had any power, we wouldn't even be having a hearing about a woman who actually released a sexual predator man into a female prisoner community, claiming that he was a transsexual. Well, if transsexual is real, then every black person should be able to say, "Oh, I'm white. You gotta let me have my business like you do the white people. You gotta let me go wherever I want to, like the white people do. You gotta let me be a world traveler like the white people do. You gotta let me steal your stuff." You see? I mean, if you can just opt out of your body, then shouldn't we all opt out of our bodies and try to claim the most privileged body in the lot, despite what our eyes and ears and noses and other senses tell us about who we're dealing with? Who are you dealing with when you fall in love, right? We have so much mysticism and magic around the concept of love because love is a feeling, and we can't control the feelings that we get, the feelings that we have. They are beyond our control, right? So, although I loved those two men I just told you about, neither of them was an appropriate man for me to bring home to meet my mom and stepdad. Neither of them could pass that test. So even though I was in love, I had enough wisdom to vet and decide how far that love would go. Kindergarten love is when you just love everybody because you're a loving soul with a good heart, to use the popular language for it. If you're a loving soul with a good heart, you love everybody, but it's kindergarten level. It's love that isn't really challenged by anything. It's just a free-flowing human kindness. Then you've got the love that you have for your parents. Well, you don't even notice that you love your parents because when you start loving your parents, love is not even a word. And loving your parents is largely a condition of dependence, isn't it? The ones that meet your needs, the ones that come when you cry, the ones that come when you call, the ones that kiss it to make it better when you fall. And at some point, as you're growing as a child, you consciously decide this is love I'm feeling for my parents. I can define this flowing feeling that makes me want to be kind to them or serve them in some way. And when a child is fully mature, they want to love their parents more actively. You know, I remember the first time my children went to the mall to pick out and buy a Christmas gift for me. They were besides themselves with excitement to give the gift to me and see how much I liked it. And it was a pair of earrings with a grain of rice in each one that had my first name on one side printed in tiny little letters and my last name on the other side of these tiny little earrings in my favorite color. And they couldn't wait for me to open that package because it was proof that they knew me and chose to love me and wanted to reward me with something, a gift of love. Okay? So that's a kind of love. They call that filial love, I believe, when your children love you and show you that they love you. I think they call that filial love. But there are other kinds of love, right? I mean, when you love your husband, you want to make sure that he lives a long time, right? So you have a sense of duty towards your spouse, towards your husband or a wife. You have a sense of duty. You've got their back, right? No matter what, you've got their back. But even the courts won't allow a spouse to testify against their spouse, their partner, because they understand that that's a line you should not cross. People used to say, don't get involved with married people's business. That's their relationship, you know? But that was back when we all thought that people were going to behave with honor and respect the other one. There's that word respect again. Did you hear me say it? Did you hear me say respect again? Because respect is a part of love, isn't it? And respect includes honor. And honor is not subservient. You know, some people think a sense of honor is a subservient position, but honor is one of the highest qualities that you can display. When you honor a person, a principle, an ideology, when you honor it, you're saying that this is above me. This is above my individuality. This is something to which I aspire to conform. And that's what honor is. Honor is beyond respect, but on the respect trajectory, right? That when you honor your spouse, it means that you put that person as a priority, as an importance. That when you're making decisions and you're deciding things, you're going to have special kinds of positions towards the person that you honor, right? So honor is respect mixed with love and more and more. There's also just a sacred quality to the concept of honor, isn't there? So we find honor in some language, you know, biblical language, legal language. Honor your spouse, honor your God, honor your parents. Oh, I don't think they say honor God, but you probably honor, you know, the principles around God. I don't know. Anyway, what is love? You know that song, What is Love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Right? That was a song from the 1980s. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Love and hurt. There it is again, right? I mean, we've got these songs on the radio saying, I just killed my ex. And we've got Taylor Swift singing, She Gave Me Roses, I Want to Kill Her because I love you. So this idea of mixing love with death, I don't know. I don't know exactly where that comes from, but I think it comes from the British chivalric tradition. I think that in the story of King Arthur, Lancelot falls in love with Guinevere, and that is really mixed with death. And then we've got Shakespeare doing Romeo and Juliet, and that's really love mixed with death. But I don't think love and death belong together. I mean, I understand that when you love someone, you want to protect them. And maybe that's where death comes in. But protection is first, right? And you only have to protect people from enemies. So this is where I go into the exopolitical diplomacy. Who are the enemies in the new culture? What do we need to protect our loved ones and ourselves from? Do we need protection? I mean, maybe a level 3 or 4 or 5 civilization has protection built in. You see, in America, if you're a real American, you have to protect yourself from law enforcement, from the courts, from the corporations, in general, from the Europeans. But that's in America today. And we've all agreed that, you know, this is not the way to go. This is not the right way. Today I was talking to one of my kids about my future plans, you know, if this reality persists for me. And once again, I was stricken by the fact that for me, this cannot be my reality. This can't be my reality because it's untenable. There's no place for me to live, no place safe for me to live. There's no place where I can afford to pay rent. There's no place free of criminals. And now we got Ted Cruz having to argue with other people in government about the qualifications of a woman judge that's as bad as Tina Ainley when it comes to protecting Americans and American citizens. And this is something we have to put under a discussion? For crying out loud. If the advanced civilizations are like this, we really need to know about it, because we need to know how to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Because when you love someone, you don't want them to die, right? One of the things that I really like about NeoThink, in addition to, Mark Hamilton's advice to me through an email, that once I start driving, just keep driving, right? Don't give up. Because now that I'm actually in the planning stage and I'm way out here on the limb in public, talking about joining Star Trek, talking about being a time traveler, talking about living on another planet, talking about taking my whole family away, talking about what might happen to the Earth. I'm out on a limb. I can't pretend I didn't say this stuff. I can't pretend I'm not on the fringe. Even though, when I look around, I see plenty of other people here. I see Linda Moulton Howe. I see Michael Sala. I see JP, one of his interviewees. I see Courtney Brown and his whole team at Farsight. I see plenty. I see Gina Marie, Colvin Hill. I see plenty of other people out here on the limb with me, out here saying that this fantastic, unbelievably marvelous and exciting reality that we have not been allowed to think about without being labeled crazy, mentally ill, it's validated. It's real. It's something to aspire to. So once I'm all the way out here, I have to start the planning and get you involved in the planning for this reality, because I'm the kind of gal that plans ahead. I plan my life ahead. That's how I knew not to marry those men that would have led me to misery. Obviously, no relationship is perfect. I didn't know everything to look out for when I got married, but I did pretty good. My children got a good, reliable father. I got a decent mate, reliable, keeping me alive to this day, making sure I have a roof over my head and food in my belly. Well, I didn't get the whole package, but I got the parts that count. I got the parts that the other men would not have provided me, that I would have needed, because I knew I wanted to raise my own children. I knew I wanted to run my own house, and I knew that my house would need running. I knew I was going to be the kind of person that would cook dinners for my husband's boss and coworkers. I knew that I would volunteer in Girl Scouts or Girl Guides or Boy Scouts or civic organizations. And I did all of those things. I knew I'd be involved with some arts foundation, and I was. You see, I got to live the life I wanted to live because I chose the right husband, and God brought the right husband to me. And don't think I didn't pray for a husband, okay? I prayed. I said, God, please bring my husband to me, please, because it's wild out there. It was wild out there. And I was just tired of being surprised by the dirty things that men would do to have sex with me. Today I was thinking over and over again, for some reason, about this really horrible man in Evanston. I used to live on the campus. because I worked in Skokie at Brunswick Corporation for Sheldon L. Epstein. So the Evanston locals would get to know me, and one of them asked me out. A guy who was going to come to nothing. He wasn't in school. He lived with his parents or in somebody's rented house. But he invited me to go with him and some other people to see Marvin Gaye live in concert in Milwaukee. And I think it was Marvin Gaye on his last concert tour. So I went on the date. I did. And we drove all the way to Milwaukee, where the concert was from Evanston. It was a long drive. And then when the concert was over, we couldn't find the car because we were just kids and we didn't know to keep track of where the car was. So we had to walk around forever. Almost everybody else left, and we're still walking around trying to find where we parked the car because we were just kids. We didn't know where the car was parked. So we got back to Evanston so late that they wouldn't drive me back to the place where I was living, probably the YWCA, which was very nice then. It was like a ladies' residential place. Very nice back then. A lot of Gus Giordano dancers used to have rooms there back when it was nice. But then they turned it into a shelter for battered women, and it just changed in character completely. But when it was still nice, I lived there while I went to Northwestern. After my second year, I moved in there. And I just stayed there year-round. Until my super senior year when I came back to campus because I didn't have a job with Brunswick that summer, so I didn't have the rent. I had to take campus housing. So I took the campus housing, but they didn't drive me back to the YWCA where I was living. They drove me to the guy's house, okay? Because everybody was tired. Oh, we're all going to sleep here. And, there was nowhere for me to lay down except in the bed beside him. So I got raped, right? I did not consent. I wanted to stop him. I didn't scream or fight. Maybe I should have, but it just didn't seem like a smart thing to do. What if he'd hit me or beaten me? I don't know, let it happen. But I'll never forget feeling like a victim and feeling dirty and feeling cheated and angry that how could he be such a low-down worm? That he would take advantage of a date. And I remember there was a girl there, and people called her Naked. That was her nickname, was Naked. And she absolutely hated me, which I was really used to, because in general, when I was around girls that were hanging around with guys that were not in my social class, these girls would really hate me. They'd call me names. They criticize my color. They would criticize my accent. They would laugh at me, set me up, But I had Europeans set me up too for horrible things. When I was at Bishop Strachan Private School, the girls set me up to be sexually molested by her boyfriend. And then, laughing at me after they got me drunk, and they're a couple of years older than me. Yeah, well, I wrestled him away. That was back when I was fighting the rapists. But I didn't want to be raped anymore. I didn't want to be raped, and I didn't have a brother or father to go after them and threaten these men. And they would be tricking me into getting raped so many times that I was embarrassed to admit how many times I'd been raped by slime balls, like the guy who took me to the Marvin Gaye concert and wouldn't take me home until he had his way. So that summer before I met my husband, I spent a lot of time praying. But I don't want to think about all that, right? I mean, the topic is love. And to me, sex is all about making love. To me, sex is sacred. I think that's why I had such a hard time believing when that guy cheated on me, because back then when I was 17, I actually believed that you could not do it. unless you were in love. You had to be in love before you could have sex. And I don't know who I thought was going to enforce that rule. I just thought it was, part of the human drive, like eat until you're full or something. But I sure was surprised to find out that you didn't have to be in love to have sex with someone, that you could just have the sex. But I still don't understand why anyone would find that to be a good way. It's very hot in here. I had the door open all day, so there are no fibers in here, although I did get a lot of Morgellon fiber things off the floor after I opened the door. You can see them in there. But these are not the ones I got today. The ones I got today, I just burned them. But they were all in the rug. They blow in here, all in the rug. But I had the door open all day long because somebody tried to break in. And I wanted to get a picture of the man that I think did it. And I finally got his picture, but it was later in the evening. And I was just enjoying having the door open. I could see through the, the bedspread that I put up. I could see through it, and I could see the sky, and I could feel the air. And it just made me feel even more desire to get the F out of here. Okay? Now, I told you they gave me a timeline. I told you they gave me a date. But as I've said before, things happen when they happen. And I don't understand all the messages I get. And maybe things will happen in a few days. Maybe in a few days I'll be out of here. But today, when I'm talking to my kid, I'm planning for a future that I sure as hell don't want to live. I'm not going to find housing, right? I'm not going to find housing. I'm not going to find good dental care, right? But you can see that I'm healing. You can see that a lot of the shadows are coming out of my face. And those shadows were the entities, the interdimensional entities co-occupying my space. So they are still a problem, but much, much, much less. So I'm healing, unless they've just gone underground to develop some strength before they hit me again. And what that really is all about, I still do not know. I still do not understand. All I know is that the marks that they make on my body, there's a new one that I got the other day when I had the door open. The marks that they make on my body almost seem to glow sometimes. Like I'll be able to see them out of the corner of my eye because they seem hyperpigmented. Hyperpigmented in the same way that I've seen some time travelers. I've seen some time travelers who were so well defined physically that they looked more dense than humans in this dimension. They just were more dense. And that's what these things, these bioweapons that they've inflicted on me, they have hyperpigmentation that I can see them in the corner of my eye. Not like my other freckles or age marks that have come on my skin, but they have a whole different character, and they have a different shape, a sesame seed shape to them. And I remembered them from Morgellons. So for this reality to continue with these kind of bioweapons without any relief is a possibility that I must consider. That's a possibility. And because I love my children so much, I don't tell them all this. I don't tell them everything because they will suffer. And a part of love is protecting. Protecting is a part of love. Okay, desire. Is desire a part of love? I don't know. I don't know. Because in our culture, we have separated lust from love. We've separated desire from commitment. So I don't know. And that started when I was a young woman. with birth control and abortion. They legalized abortion in the year I became a freshman in college, I believe. I believe my freshman year of 1973 was the year that they legalized abortion in Illinois. And once they legalized abortion, the risk to girls for having premarital sex decreased significantly, right? Because you might want to satisfy your lustful desire with an inappropriate mate, a man that would not make a good husband and father. But you don't want to marry him. You don't want to take him home to your mother and say, here's my choice to be the head of my family. So many of us forget that when we pick our husbands, we're picking the head of our family. If we're a woman and we're a traditional woman. Want to know why? It has nothing to do with power. Okay, it has nothing to do with power. It has everything to do with the fact that you, the woman, bear the children. How can you explain the relationship that develops between you and somebody living in your body? Within your boundary of yourself, used to be yourself alone, but now you've got a roommate, another spirit living in your body. There's no way that you can explain to anyone who has not experienced it what it feels like. And when you give birth to your baby, the pain that you experience will make you, it'll make you vow to God, okay? That if you are concentrating all of the investment that I'm going to have to make in this person into these hours that I'm giving birth, I get it. I get it. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be kind of hard to live 24/7 devoted to someone else, because devotion is my favorite part of love. Honor, devotion, protection, desire, love.